Euros before going to Italy? Yes, buying euros before heading to Italy can be a wise decision. It offers you the convenience of having local currency right upon arrival for immediate expenses such as transportation from the airport. However, for the best rates, consider exchanging a small amount before leaving, and then withdrawing euros from ATMs once in Italy, as they often provide better exchange rates compared to currency exchange offices.
Experience history. Encounter the divine. Thank you for allowing Peter's Way to customize and plan this special journey to share your music. The Peter's Way family is a network of experts who transform ordinary choir tours into extraordinary, life-changing sacred choral experiences. We're an international family. In the United States, Canada, and Mexico, in Western Europe, France, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, the United Kingdom, in Central Europe, Austria, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, and in the Mediterranean, including Greece, the Holy Land, and of course, Italy and Vatican City. Our knowledge of each destination is unparalleled. For example, with our partner in Rome, we offer you the benefits of over 50 years of eminently successful touring experience. Each Peter's Way tour is designed with meticulous attention to detail and is coordinated every step of the journey to match your passion and to deliver an unforgettable experience. Long-term professional relationships and personal connections enable Peter's Way Tours to confirm ideal venues. Peter's Way can custom design a tour for your group and take you anywhere in the world. Peter's Way Heart of Italy Tour. Welcome to Rome, the Eternal City. On arrival, your Peter's Way tour manager will meet you at customs or baggage claim, and a private tour bus and professional driver will be there to take you on your way. Enjoy your step back in time as you pass historic ruins and roads, stunning reminders of the empire that ruled the ancient world. Peter's Way Tour of the Vatican. It all begins in Vatican City, the center of the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church and heart of the mystical body of Christ. You'll visit the Vatican museums, see famous works of art from antiquity, come face to face with Renaissance masterpieces. You'll walk in the footsteps of the princes of the church, experience the sight of the papal conclave, the Sistine Chapel, and see Michelangelo's famous Sistine Chapel ceiling and his fresco of the Last Judgment. You'll also experience the four papal basilicas of Rome, including St. Peter's. This majestic church is built over the tomb of Peter the Apostle, chosen by Christ to be the visible head of his church. You'll sense the overwhelming power as you pass Bernini's Baldacchino to the chapel of the choir, and feel the grandeur and joy of worship when you lift your voices in song for Mass at the altar of the chair of St. Peter. Your tour manager is on site to coordinate your group's daily movements, and you will have local professional licensed tour guides to shepherd you. Peter's Way Tour of Ancient Rome. On your half-day tour of ancient Rome, your guide will explore Palatine Hill and discover the origins of ancient Rome with you, the Roman Forum, the Arch of Constantine, and the Arch of Titus Ulpian, as does the ancient world's most famous monument, the Colosseum. You'll see the Church of St. Peter in chains, including the chains said to have held Peter prisoner. You will see Michelangelo's unforgettable sculpture of Moses. Peter's Way Tour of Christian Rome. History is everywhere. Your guided tour of Christian Rome focuses on three papal basilicas: St. Mary Major, the first church dedicated to the Mother of God; St. Paul outside the walls, built in the 4th century by Constantine, above St. Paul's grave, near where he was martyred; and St. John Lateran, mother and head of all churches in Rome and in the world. The Papal Cathedra is located in the apse, decorated with a stunning mosaic representation of baptism, symbolized by water producing a new creation for men and the world. Christian pilgrims are also drawn to the Lateran Palace and the Scala Sancta, the actual staircase that led to the Praetorium of Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem. You'll also visit Santa Croce in Jerusalem, one of the 7 pilgrim churches of Rome. It was built to house relics of Jesus' Passion, brought to Rome by St. Helena, mother of Emperor Constantine. Make it your time. Your group leaders can specify a full touring program or a more relaxed program with dedicated leisure time for shopping, exploring, reflection, prayer, and independent dining. Your Peter's Way tour manager will help you plan your free time. Most visitors enjoy discovering famous Roman squares and fountains. With your group or on your own, don't miss Piazza Navona, the epitome of Baroque beauty, the Spanish Steps, Trinita dei Monti, Campo de Fiori, and Piazza del Popolo. Toss a coin into the Trevi Fountain and you'll be certain to return to the Eternal City. Peter's Way Heart of Italy Tour. The Peter's Way Heart of Italy itinerary includes a full day or overnight excursion to Assisi, where you will feel the spirit of St. Francis. Pray as St. Francis did before the San Damiano cross, the miraculous crucifix within the Basilica of St. Clare. You'll also see relics of St. Clare and reflect on her journey from privileged life to finding Christ in poverty. Alternate highlights in Assisi include celebrating Mass at the tomb of St. Francis. Virtually every Peter's Way itinerary to Rome includes a papal audience so faithful pilgrims can pray in St. Peter's Square with the Holy Father and receive his apostolic blessing. After the audience, you'll travel along the Appian Way beyond the city walls of Rome and explore the catacombs.
The famous Vatican City is considered to be an independent country, and it is the world's smallest at just over 100 acres. It takes just 40 minutes to walk around the city walls. Whilst in the city, do visit the Castel Sant'Angelo, Hadrian's iconic fortress, palace, prison, and his mausoleum. Millions of tourists visit every year. The Vatican Swiss Guards were established in 1506 and are one of the oldest military units still running today. They have protected the popes for over 500 years. The smallest country also has its own football team, named the FC Guardia, and each player is a Swiss Guard. Buried beneath St. Peter's Square are the remains of an enormous chariot racing track dating back to Caligula and Nero's times in 30 to 50 AD. The original 4,000-year-old obelisk, which stood in the middle of the racing track, is still there today in the same position. The Sistine Chapel is named after Pope Sixtus IV, who had the construction built in the 1470s. It took 8 years to complete. 5 million tourists visit the chapel every year and allow about 3 hours for their stay. It's advisable to buy your ticket online to avoid the queues. Visitors are expected to keep their shoulders and knees covered and remove hats when entering the chapel. The estimated worth of the sacred chapel ranges between a staggering $10 to $15 billion. The building itself is quite small, which is amazing considering it houses 12,000 square feet of paintings. The iconic ceiling painting, The Creation of Aedan, is said to depict a human brain formed by the robes around God, giving the first human intelligence. The impressive ancient Colosseum definitely needs to be on everyone's bucket list, and it's a selfie paradise. 60,000 slaves built the remarkable structure in 72 AD and finished the amphitheatre very quickly in just over 8 years because they were promised freedom at the end. The Colosseum could fit in 50 to 80,000 people at a time. It measures 624 feet long, 511 feet wide, and 164 feet tall. The building had a clever distribution system with 80 numbered entrances and exits. This system allowed the high-class citizens on the bottom and middle levels to leave within a few minutes and avoiding the lower classes. In 80 AD, Emperor Titus celebrated the grand opening of the amazing amphitheatre with 100 days of gladiator games. The uniquely designed famous Pantheon is an incredibly popular attraction in Rome, drawing in 8 million visitors every year. This amazing building is the oldest serving structure in the city and has stood for 2,000 years. The Pantheon was originally constructed as a temple dedicated to all gods. Now a church, it's the only remaining building that has continually been in service for those 2,000 years. The astonishing structure of the dome makes it the single largest unreinforced concrete creation in the entire world, and the Romans built it in 125 AD. The ancient brick walls of the Pantheon are incredibly thick. In order to hold the pressure of the dome, the massive walls are 20 feet wide. There are 16 huge columns at the entrance, and each one is a 48-foot-high solid piece of stone. These massive stones would have travelled all the way from Egypt. A truly impressive achievement. The magnificent St. Peter's Basilica is the largest church on earth, and with the tallest dome standing at a colossal 448 feet high. The enormous, imposing church eventually took 120 years to be completed. It is spread over 5.5 acres of land, and the opulent interior can house 60,000 people all at once. Saint Peter the Apostle is known to be the very first Pope of Rome and is buried in a tomb beneath the impressive high altar within the sacred church. It is thought that the Apostle was crucified on that very spot when Emperor Nero had him killed in 64 AD. 300 years later, Emperor Constantine had the old St. Peter's built on that same site. Tourists usually allow about 3 hours. Entrance is free, but allow time for the security lines. If you book a guided tour in advance, you are guaranteed a certain time and have less waiting. However, you will need to pay if you want to climb the 550 steps or take the lift up to the beautiful dome. Visitors allow about an hour, and if you can, go early to avoid the queues. Most popular attraction that people love to visit is without doubt the ultimate romantic Trevi Fountain, with 10.5 million visiting every year. The impressive Trevi Fountain is known as one of the most stunning fountains in the world. It stands 85 feet tall, 160 feet wide, and 1,200 tourists visit every hour. The 260-year-old fountain circulates an amazing 3 million cubic feet of water every day and is one of the oldest water sources in the city, dating right back to 19 BC. The beautiful structure is made of pure white travertine stone, which is the same material used to build the Colosseum. There is a mysterious area hidden behind and below the fountain, known as the City of Water, with ancient Roman remains from the 1st century.
to Assisi, the land of Francis and Clare, the green heart of Italy. Here, St. Francis heard Christ through the cross in the Church of St. Damien. At the Portiuncula, he started his order, an order that would change forever the face of Catholicism. The Basilica of St. Clare houses the original cross of St. Damien and the tomb of St. Clare, a courageous woman whose heart was fearless and selfless. At the age of 44, after living a life of deep faith, especially through his relationship with God and his creation, St. Francis died. The current basilica was erected over the saint's tomb, a simple tomb that befits a man who preached simplicity and humility. The basilica is a splendid example of 13th century art and architecture. Its frescoes are priceless, including Cimabue's earliest and most accurate portrait of St. Francis.
The things to know before you go to Florence. The best way to get around Florence is by walking it. Get comfortable shoes and be careful of those cobbled streets at night. You could also use the ATAF buses to get around the city, but make sure to avoid using taxis or driving, as large parts of the city centre are off limit to drivers. So now let's look at the typical prices. Accommodation is going to be one of your biggest expenses in Florence. Dorm beds in a hostel start at €30 a night. Mid-range hotels begin at 100, whilst 5-star hotels cost around €400. A simple coffee and pastry starts at around €3, whilst a panini lunch will cost around €4. Pizza for one is between €5 to €9, depending on how close you are to the main attractions, whilst a simple pasta dish will cost you around €8. You can find dinner options from 18, whilst a glass of wine can be found for under €6 in the local bars. Italy is an expensive place to visit, but there are some ways to save money whilst you're in Florence. Also, make sure to enjoy the free things to do in Florence as well, like walking across the city's only remaining medieval bridge and enjoy the sweeping views of the city from the various viewpoints. Avoid drinking too many coffees or wines, as these prices can add up, and buy combo tickets for the art galleries and museums. So now let's look at the best things to do in Florence. Florence has a lot to offer visitors. Firstly, head to the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, known for its famous dome. Then head to the Uffizi, a treasure trove of Renaissance art. See Michelangelo's famous artwork in the Galleria dell'Accademia, then taking gorgeous views of the city from the Piazzale Michelangelo. Foodies should head to the Mercato Centrale, whilst history lovers should visit the many churches, museums, and historic landmarks found here.
Number 1. Basilica di Sant'Antonio. Although he was born in Lisbon, Portugal, the eloquent 13th century preacher, St. Anthony, lived and worked in Padua, which claims him as its own. The saint is buried here, at the immense Basilica di Sant'Antonio, a popular pilgrimage destination since its construction began in the year following his death. Number 2. Cappella degli Scrovegni. The chapel of the Madonna dell'Arena was built from 1303 to 1305 as the chapel of a palace that was demolished around 1820. While it may not look extraordinary from the outside, its interior is one of Italy's most priceless art treasures. Number 3. Piazza dei Signori and Palazzo della Ragione. In the heart of Padua's old city, 3 adjoining squares have been the center of life for Padovani since the Middle Ages. Between Piazza della Frutta and Piazza del Erbi, the Salone or Palazzo della Ragione, built 1218-19 as a law court, is Europe's largest medieval hall. Number 4. Musei Civici and Eremitani Church. 2 outstanding museums and the Romanesque Church of the Eremitani combine with the Scrovegni Chapel to make up the Musei Civici. The art gallery exhibits paintings by Giotto, Bellini, Giorgione, Titian, Tiepolo, Veronese, and Tintoretto, as well as works by Flemish and Dutch artists. Number 5. Villa Pisani. In Stra, just outside Padua, is the 18th century Villa Pisani or Villa Nazionale. Its splendid galleried ballroom has a large ceiling painted by Tiepolo in 1762, and its more than 100 rooms are furnished in Empire style. The villa, built by the powerful Pisani family, later belonged to Napoleon and the Habsburg emperors. Number 6. Cruise or bicycle along the Brenta Canal. The river Brenta, which flows through Padua and enters the Adriatic Sea in Venice, has been canalized since the days of the Venetian Republic, and it was a favorite place for wealthy Venetians to build palaces where they could escape the summer heat. They hired the preeminent architects and artists of the period to build and decorate the villas that still line the canal. Number 7. Prato della Valle. Padovans love this enormous square, the largest in Italy and one of the largest in Europe, and call it simply Il Prato. It was once a big swamp, then a grounds for jousting tournaments when, in the late 1700s, Andrea Mamo, whose palace still overlooks the square, conceived of a large plaza and park, and work began on the public space you see today. Number 8. Cathedral and Baptistry. To the west of the Piazza dei Signori stands the cathedral, a high Renaissance building, 1552-77, with an unfinished facade. Although the church is not a remarkable example, it is worth seeing for the paintings in the sacristy by Tiepolo and Bassano. Number 9. Orto Botanico. The Botanical Garden, founded in 1545, is the world's oldest existing academic botanical garden and the original of all the world's botanical gardens. It began as a way for students to identify true medicinal plants, to prevent mistakes and frauds in a day when healing relied heavily on herbs. Number 10. Piazza del Santo. Stretching in front of the Basilica di Sant'Antonio is the large Piazza del Santo, with several other attractions. Beside the church stands the equestrian statue of Venetian army commander Gadamelita, the first monumental equestrian statue since the Roman era, created by the early Renaissance sculptor Donatello, who worked in Padua from 1441 to 1453.
Welcome to Venice, a city unlike any other, known as the Queen of the Adriatic. Venice is a floating masterpiece of art, history, and a culture that has enchanted travelers for centuries. Built on more than 100 small islands in a lagoon, Venice is a maze of canals, bridges, and narrow alleyways that lead to hidden gems and secret corners. Its stunning architecture, from the Byzantine domes of St. Mark's Basilica to the Gothic beauty beauty of the Doge's Palace. It is a testament to the city's wealth and power during the Renaissance. With its rich history, stunning art, and unique way of life, Venice is a destination that will leave you breathless. Number 1 on the list is going to be ride the city ferry. One of the best ways to explore this beautiful city is by taking a ferry ride around the city. The city ferry, also known as the Vaporetto, is a public water bus that travels along the Grand Canal and the smaller canals throughout Venice. You can purchase tickets at the ferry station or on board the ferry. So you're able to buy your tickets out here, and a lot of people recommend to get the multi-day pass to be able to get on multiple rides. As you glide along the canals, you'll see some of the city's most famous landmarks, including the Rialto Bridge and St. Mark's Square. Just imagine this though, like imagine growing up in Venice. Like, you know, you walk downstairs, hop on the boat, take that to school. I mean, it's just a completely different life. Number 2 on the list is going to be the oldest coffee shop in Italy. Welcome to Cafe Florian. Located in the heart of St. Mark's Square, this cafe has been serving coffee to locals since 1720, so we're talking 300 years. When you step inside, you'll feel like you've stepped back in time. The cafe is beautifully decorated with chandeliers, marble tables, and a stunning ceiling fresco. Like in a movie or something. And they offer a wide variety of pastries and snacks as well. So we've got a full-on breakfast you can get.
One of the best.
Yeah. I mean, especially when they're charging 11 euros a coffee.
Yeah, they say it's one of the oldest coffee shops.
All right, so we decided to get 2 cappuccinos and a dessert tart thing. Right there, that's already gonna be like 35 euros. Oh yeah. I will say it tastes the same as any other cup I've had in Italy, but what stands apart here is how it's served with the aesthetic around here.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the old vibes here with the... This is the oldest continuously operating coffee shop in Italy, which is just crazy. I mean, it's been open since 1720, so 303 years.
Imagine how many generations for people to continuously work on that coffee shop and make it work.
Take a seat outside on the terrace and enjoy the beautiful view of the square while you sip your coffee. Well, let's put it this way. You gotta have some cash to spend. It's definitely worth going for a visit. I'd say it's better that we took Mabel's advice to not get food there. You go there for the experience, right? Like, so the coffee tasted like any other Italian coffee I had. But obviously sometimes it hurts to see the price tag of 11 euros for a coffee. Each sip was like $1.50. Number 3 on the list is to roam the streets of Venice. One of the best things to do in Venice is to simply wander the streets and alleys of the city. Venice is a maze of narrow streets and canals, and there is something new to discover around every corner. And bring a map or GPS device, as it's easy to get lost in the winding streets. You'll stumble upon beautiful churches, hidden piazzas, and charming shops selling handmade goods. Calle Amor, so it's the love street. Take your time and soak up the unique atmosphere of this incredible city. Number 4 on the list is to take a gondola boat. No trip to Venice is complete without a ride on a gondola. Gondolas are traditional Venetian boats that are used to navigate the canals of the city. They are often decorated with ornate carvings and paintings, and the gondoliers wear striped shirts and boater hats. A gondola ride is a romantic and peaceful way to see the city from a different perspective. You can hire a gondola at one of the many docks throughout the city. The price can be a bit steep, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you won't regret. Number 5 on the list is to watch the sunset from Rialto Bridge. The Rialto Bridge is one of the most iconic landmarks in Venice. It spans the Grand Canal and offers stunning views of the water and the city. One of the best times to visit the bridge is at sunset. As the sun sets behind the city, the water and the buildings are bathed in a golden glow. The bridge can get crowded during the day, but it's much quieter in the evening. Take your time and enjoy the breathtaking views. Number 6 on the list is to visit Burano. It's a small little island just off the coast of Venice right here. About a 40-minute ferry ride to get over here. It's famous for its brightly colored houses and intricate lace making. All of these houses are just painted in these really, really bright colors, as you can see here, and it just gives it this vibrant feel. You can get to Burano both by ferry, which takes about 40 minutes to an hour from Venice, or you can rent a private boat, which is going to be quite a bit more expensive. As you approach the island, you will be greeted by a beautiful array of colors from the houses, which are pointed in various shades of red, green, blue, and yellow. Take a leisurely stroll through the streets and alleyways and admire the unique architecture and colorful buildings. Number 7 on the list is the Leonardo da Vinci Museum. Located Located in the beautiful Scoletta di San Rocco, is a fascinating destination for art lovers and history buffs alike.
There's a ticket.
Oh, how much is it? €8?
The museum showcases some of the great artists' inventions, sketches, and scientific theories, giving visitors a unique glimpse into the mind of one of the greatest minds in history. Number 8 on the list is to visit St. Mark's Basilica, a stunning example of the Byzantine architecture. St. Mark's Basilica is one of the most famous landmarks in Venice. This stunning example of architecture is a true masterpiece featuring intricate mosaics, stunning gold leaf decorations. Number 9 on the list is to have dinner along the Grand Canal. One of the most iconic things to do in Venice, picturesque waterway is lined with some of the best restaurants in the city, each offering stunning views of the canal. Oh, that is refreshing. Try that thing out. As you dine, you can watch the boats and gondolas pass by, creating a romantic and unforgettable experience.
Looks like a bottle is going to be roughly, let's say a normal standard one. It seems like 32 to 34 euros for a bottle of wine.
You can also try some of the local Venetian specialties, such as risotto with seafood, fresh pasta with clams, or the famous Venetian cuttlefish in black ink sauce.
And number 10 on the list, last but not least,
Is to go shopping in the narrow alleyways. One of the best ways to experience the charm and character of Venice is to go shopping and see what this place has to offer.
10 things you should never ever do in Italy. For some of those things, you can actually be burned alive. And I'm not even joking. Let's jump in right away. First, you don't need to buy drinking water in Rome. I'm serious. Did you know that there are more than 2,500 fontaines with drinking water in Rome? They're called nasoni, big nose, name coming from the spout, the shape of it, and they provide residents as well as the visitors with fresh and free of charge water all year around. This water is absolutely clean and perfectly fresh. It's 100% drinkable and free of charge. You can just keep your empty bottle with you all the time and refill it every time you feel thirsty. If you cannot find this fontaine, you can just Google drinking water fontaine in Rome and you will get a whole map of those. You don't need to buy drinking water in Rome. Especially avoid those little kiosks and also those places which are so close to the main tourist attractions. A bottle of water there will cost you a little fortune. Number 2, don't expect everyone to speak English in Italy. Don't think that you can speak English in Italy and everyone will understand you here.
Hi, do you speak English?
Unfortunately, in Italy, English is not spoken very wildly. Don't expect Swiss punctuality when you're in Italy. Time in Italy is elastic. The guided tour, scheduled for 11 a.m., will start at 11:30. The same principle applies for many businesses here, as well as public transport. Many shops and other facilities are closed at lunchtime, so make sure you will check first every place you want to visit and also the places you would like to eat if they're open. It also applies for the banks. Usually in Italy, they might be closed even after 1:30 p.m. Have to mention, buses in Italy, they are just never ever on time. So you better embrace it. Good news here again. If you are in Rome, all major tourist attractions are walking distance. So you can have a lovely long walk and a great opportunity of a little bit of sport activity after the pizza you finished yesterday at 10 p.m. Number 4, don't assume all Italians are related to mafia. Please, I'm begging you, don't even mention this. The majority of Italians don't mind talking about it, but it's quite offensive to assume that they all are related to murderers and corruptors. Number 5, don't try to catch taxi in Italy like you are in sex in the city. In Italy, you cannot stop a taxi in the middle of the street by just raising your hand. Here, you need to call a taxi or go to a specific place where you can take one. The taxi driver, on the other hand, can do the opposite. When he sees a tourist trying to stop the taxi by waving their hands on the street, the taxi driver just can point out the right direction or to the right spot where the tourist can get the taxi from. So don't raise your hand in the middle of the street trying to catch a taxi in Italy. You better Google it and you will have a huge selection of the right spots where the taxi will be waiting for you. Just go there, wait and enjoy your ride. Number 6. Don't toss your coins in every single fontaine in Rome. The only fontaine you're supposed to toss your coins in Rome is Fontana di Trevi. As this legend goes, if you want to return to Rome, you need to toss 1 coin. If you're tossing 2 coins, you will return to Rome and also will find love. If you toss 3 coins, you will return to Rome, you will find your love, and you will also get married. Just follow this legend and toss all those coins in particularly Fontana di Trevi. And please, leave the rest of more than 2,000 fontaines in Rome alone. Don't toss anything in them. No coins, know yourself. Let's move to the dress code. Number 7. Don't wear shorts, tank tops or flip-flops when you're planning to visit a church. And actually, you don't wear flip-flops at all when you're visiting large cities like Roma or Milano. Remember, when you're planning to visit sacred places like churches in Italy, you need to be dressed appropriately. It's not possible to go to the places like this wearing the way you would wear to go to the beach.
I'm going back to Italy.
Remember to bring a scarf to put around your shoulders. It's not appropriate to have open shoulders and knees when you're going to the church in Italy. Even to enter a church with a hat for a man is considered inappropriate. Remember those general rules of visiting any church in Italy. Shoulders closed, legs closed, hats, especially silly hats, removed. No backpacks or bulky handbags. Otherwise, you might be denied entry to a church or a cathedral. Respect the locals and they will respect you back. And now, let's talk about food, guys. Did you know that there are 3 main religions in Italy? First is Catholicism, the second is faith, and the third is football. Now, I'm going to tell you the biggest no-no food related in Italy. What you should never ever do. Number 8. Never ever order your cappuccino after 11 a.m. Cappuccino is a morning drink, and if you're ordering it after 11 a.m. or even after lunchtime, oh, you're such a tourist.
Are you a typical tourist? I am.
So remember, cappuccino is one of the most famous Italian drinks for breakfast, and it's usually consumed in the morning with a cornetto or any sort of sweet pastry. For this reason, when Italians see anyone ordering cappuccino with their pasta or even pizza, guys, believe me, it's a tragedy, because all the flavors of cappuccino, they washing up all these amazing flavors of the dishes, and Italians cannot accept it at any cost. So, if you want to have your coffee after lunchtime in Italy, go for macchiato. First of all, it's the same principle as cappuccino. You can go for the same espresso or double espresso with a splash of milk. And the second, you will look so much like the local if you order un macchiato. Buonasera. Un caffè macchiato caldo, per favore.
Bene.
Grazie mille, grazie.
Grazie.
And if you want to look like a local, you should have your macchiato at the bar, not at the table. And never ever order your coffee in Italy saying, "Can I have latte, please?" Because latte in Italian means milk. And if you order one latte, please, you will end up having a glass of milk. When you are in Italy, never ever put cheese on any pasta which contains fish or seafood. Italians have such a precious relationship with their food, and they know exactly what should be done and what should never be done. They're so precise of what goes with what, and seafood pasta with cheese can never, never ever go together.
If you're sharing a hotel room with friends, you're also sharing a...
Number 10. Never ever, when you're in Italy, cut your spaghetti with fork and knife. Never do this. Spaghetti here is eaten more than anywhere in the world, and pasta etiquette is a real thing in Italy. This one is one of the worst thing for any Italian to witness. The right way to eat pasta is to wrap it around your fork and help it with your plate to put it right on that fork. Don't use any other cutleries. No spoons, no knives. The reason of this method that you must respect the essence of spaghetti. And guys, please don't use the spoon when you eat your pasta in Italy. Well, it's not really a prison sentence, but lots of Italians, they quite used that. British people as well as American people, they're using spoon when they're eating their pasta. So you will get away with it. But if you really want to look like the local here, eat your pasta with a fork only. You will never see tablespoons on the tables in the restaurants in Italy. You will get your spoon here only if you order a soup. Number 11, or bonus section for you guys. And now listen to me carefully. And please never, never ever do any of those things when you're in Italy. For those things, you might be burned alive. For real. I have a friend. Doggies, never, never, ever, under any circumstances, do following things. First, never ever ask ketchup to go with your pasta. Second, never ever ask any additional sauce to go with your pasta. Third, never ask your pizza with pineapple. Fourth, never ask your pizza with chicken. Never ask the waiter to cut your pizza for you. It's like asking the chef to cut your steak. Very insulting and actually rude. Never ask to bring olive oil together with balsamic vinegar or butter together with your bread when you are in Italy. It's not an Italian tradition, guys. Never ever ask for pasta with meatballs. This animal exists only outside Italy. Here you can have pasta with ragu, mincemeat, or meatballs separately. They're called polpette, but never ever under any circumstances mix them together. There is no such a thing in Italy as pasta with meatballs.
Packing for a trip to Europe can be unexpectedly tricky. There are several key mistakes you want to be sure to avoid. In this video, I'll cover some of the most common packing mistakes I see people make when traveling to Europe. We're going to cover things like what bag not to bring, what not to wear, what not to buy, and what not to forget. Okay, so diving right in, mistake number 1 is bringing the wrong bag. And the wrong bag is a giant roller bag, aka a huge checked suitcase. There is almost no reason to bring a giant suitcase with you on your trip to Europe. Most people, when they travel to Europe, are planning to visit multiple cities. And typically you do that via rail or by taking a bus or even inexpensive short-haul flights. The right bag for your European adventure is going to be one that makes it easy for you to do those things. The right bag is going to be lightweight, portable, and one that's easy for you to manage. Picture walking a mile with that bag if you had to. That's not uncommon. When it comes to flights, there's not one international standard when it comes to carry-on bag sizes. However, 22 inches by 14 inches by 9 inches is pretty common, so you should be safe if you're under that. One difference you'll see in Europe, though, that is not as common in the USA is weight restrictions for your carry-on bag. In general, That's going to be somewhere between 7 to 10 kilograms, which is between 15 and 22 pounds. This varies highly by airline, so please do your research ahead of time. If you're the kind of person that's used to just throwing your stuff in a bag and thinking, hey, as long as it's under 50 pounds, I'm good, and now you're freaking out, deep breath. I'm going to share 2 Europe luggage strategies and one of my favorite travel hacks. I recommend you choose one of these 2 Europe luggage strategies, and then the travel hack is something I recommend everyone do. Strategy number 1 is the one bag traveler. If you can pare down your belongings to fit into one bag, which, trust me, you can, my top recommendation is always going to be backpack. A big benefit of using a backpack is that you can go hands-free. And in Europe in particular, much of where you will be walking, especially if you're in Old Town, is going to be cobblestones and uneven terrain. That sometimes can be tricky with wheels. Ultimately, if you're going the backpack route, choose a bag that is durable, offers some level of water resistance, gives you options for compartmentalization or organization, and very, very key, fits your body comfortably. Okay, the next strategy is the 2-bag traveler. I've done this one as well. This is where you would bring a carry-on sized roller bag and a personal item sized backpack. Some key things to look out for in a personal item bag are that they fit under the airplane seat. There's a pocket for a water bottle. They offer some level of water resistance, and there's a trolley sleeve, aka a handle pass-through, so that they can sit on top of your roller bag. Here's a quick travel hack, whether you're a 1-bag or a 2-bag traveler. Packable day pack. A packable day pack is a small, lightweight, and usually inexpensive backpack that packs down really small, usually into an inner pocket, and can be stored in your main bag until you need it. Then when you're in the middle of your trip, you can leave your big bag in the room and take this little one out with you for the day. And you can store things in there that you would need, like your sunglasses, your rain jacket, water bottle, etc. I've had this Osprey one for years. It's really inexpensive and it packs down smaller than the palm of your hand. Okay, the next mistakes revolve around clothing. And the biggest clothing related mistake is simply bringing too much clothing. And the best way to avoid bringing too much clothing is by making a plan. I remember explaining for the first time to my sister how to pack for a 10-day European trip and just how daunted she was by the premise of having to be so intentional and methodical about exactly what to bring. But she did it, and she did great. And so here's a few quick tips for you. Focus on clothing that is versatile and could be used in a variety of scenarios. Try to create a mini capsule wardrobe for your trip so that your tops and your bottoms could kind of mix and match and work in a number of different ways. I recommend tending towards lightweight clothing items and packing as if you'll dress in layers. You could also seek out items that have moisture wicking properties in case you're traveling during summer. You should also consider how many wears you can get out of a given piece of clothing. For example, you probably only need 1, maybe 2 pairs of pants for a week-long trip. Maybe that's not such a foreign concept, but what about things like your socks and your shirts, right? You probably don't need a different pair of socks for every single day of your trip. And as you begin thinking about items that could be reworn and reused, I highly suggest merino wool. Merino wool has antimicrobial properties, which will help your clothing resist odor. Finally, consider wrinkle resistance. If you're folding or rolling your clothes, chances of wrinkles go way up. So consider maybe not bringing those things that get wrinkled really easily. And a pro tip is using Downy wrinkle release spray or something similar. We always have a travel size bottle of this with us and it works. It is super clutch. The best way not to overpack is to use a packing checklist. A big mistake when traveling to Europe is bringing the wrong kind of clothing. Unless you're going to some very fancy places, you don't need to bring anything super duper nice. Now, I'm not saying ladies don't bring a dress or guys don't bring a nice button-up shirt. Don't get me wrong. We love going out to a nice dinner and, I'll bring something like this, or usually with sleeves. Leave the evening gown and the suit jacket at home. On the complete opposite end, don't dress like a slob. Europeans are, in general, pretty stylish. And look, I'm not trying to say you gotta blend in, but there are certain things you wear that will identify you as a tourist, aka a target for scams, pickpockets, etc. These are some things you may want to consider avoiding. And look, I'm no fashion expert. I mean, look at me, come on. But I've seen this a lot. University apparel, you know, those big university sweatshirts, sandals with socks. I mean, come on, these look kind of silly anywhere. And those dorky zip-off pants, you know, the ones that are like, they're pants, no, they're shorts. And just a note, certain sites like churches may have modesty requirements. Now, I've been to several that are honestly pretty lax about this, but some of them are kind of weird about guys wearing shorts or ladies having their shoulders exposed. Before you go, just do your research ahead of time. You would hate to not be able to visit a site that you really want to because of what you're wearing. Okay, while we're on this topic, here's a couple of comments about shoes. When it comes to shoes, less is better. Ideally, one pair of shoes. Man, I know this is tough. This was really, really tough for Allie, but in the end, you need one good pair of versatile, comfortable walking shoes that could work in a variety of situations. Ones that look fine as you're out and about walking around for the day, or ones that would look good with whatever you're gonna wear to dinner. I recommend you wear your biggest pair on the plane and you pack your smaller pair of shoes. Leave items like heels and other things that are just in general single use at home. The next big mistake is buying things you don't really need. My first trip to Europe, I went all out on the walking and hiking aesthetic. If you're not planning on doing a lot of hiking or outdoor stuff, there's just no need to invest in all those fancy technical fabrics like Gore-Tex and all that stuff. I'm not saying don't get a rain jacket or whatever, but man, you probably don't need the shoes and the hiking poles and the technical shirt and the vest. Like, you just don't. I invested in these heavy hiking shoes and didn't go for a single hike. I mean, we walked a lot, but 100% of our trip was in cities. I have no idea what I was thinking. There was just no reason for that level of technical armor on my feet. They were bulky and heavy, and I could have gotten away with something a lot smaller, simpler, and cheaper. Okay, this is a hot take, but I would not invest in one of those travel neck pillows. They can be comfortable for sure, don't get me wrong. Most flights are gonna offer you a pillow and a blanket on your long flight. Just remember, you've gotta carry what you bring with you everywhere. I would not spend money on expensive camera equipment. Use what you have. Most smartphones today are amazing, especially if you're new to photography or filming video. Just use what you have. And I wouldn't over-invest in guidebooks. Find one, maybe two trusted guides that you like. For Europe, Rick Steves is pretty hard to beat. He's the expert. He's been doing it for a long time. And then fill in the rest with travel blogs, YouTube channels, like this one, to supplement your knowledge. A huge mistake when traveling Europe is forgetting something important that you need. So here's a few crucial things you want to be sure not to forget. First and foremost, don't forget your passport. You probably expected me to say that, but you know, you're not going to get far without it. I always recommend making photocopies of your important documents, like your passport, your driver's license, maybe your travel insurance, your itinerary, just certain things like that, and keeping a copy buried deep somewhere in your bag. A huge thing you don't want to forget when you travel to Europe is the right travel adapter. There's a ton of options out there, but my all-time favorite is the Universal Adapter by Epica. I've reviewed it before, and it works on a number of continents and countries. It definitely works in Europe, and it's got enough ports to charge 6 devices. It's incredibly highly reviewed on Amazon, and it's right around 20 USD.
Welcome to Rome, to a city of art, culture, and above all, faith. At Peter's Way Tours, we would like to take you through the splendor of the eternal city. Walk with you through its monuments, fountains, piazzas, basilicas, and be part of a life-changing experience. Peter's Way Tours will provide the best tour managers and guides who will accompany you in the footsteps of the apostles and saints. Your personal safety is our priority. At Peter's Way, we do all for you. Back to Rome, where St. Francis led his first 11 followers to seek permission from Pope Innocent III to found a new religious order. The audience took place at the head and mother of all the churches in the world, the Basilica of St. John in Lateran. The Basilica is Rome's cathedral and is dedicated to both St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist. It is one of the earliest basilicas in Rome and the only one built inside the city boundaries by Constantine the Great. St. Mary Major is the largest of the 26 churches in Rome dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The first church was built by Pope Liberius on the site of an apparition of the Blessed Mother. The basilica contains a wealth of relics, like pieces from the manger of Jesus, and an image of the Virgin Mary painted by St. Luke the Evangelist. On the Via Ostiense, on the way out of Rome, St. Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, was buried after suffering martyrdom. Inside the basilica are statues of St. Peter and St. Paul. Both died here, in Rome, and were born together in heaven. St. Peter's Basilica is dedicated to the Prince of the Apostles. It is the largest church ever built and the center of the Catholic world. Built above the tomb of St. Peter and under the dome of Michelangelo, the papal altar is one of the most beautiful pieces of art on earth.
Here at St. Peter's Basilica, we've just finished a pilgrimage for the Jubilee Year of Mercy. And once again, thanks to Dr. Cortzial and Dr. Bahu, it has been magnificent. My pilgrims are spiritually renewed. It's been beautiful. It's been fulfilling. It's been meaningful. I can't say enough about the foundation. Actually, it's an appropriate name. It brings us back to the foundation of our faith, Jesus Christ, the cornerstone. And Peter, here we are at St. Peter's, the rock of his faith upon which Jesus built his church. So I hope one day you're going to have as great a spiritually rewarding experience as we just had.